Hi, everybody. Welcome to our monthly reading for Arroyo Seco Press. And we've got Sarah Thursday here today and a whole bunch of great people for the open mic too. And so I'm just going to introduce her very quickly. She's got about 20 minutes and then we'll move on to the open mic. You can join us here on the third Thursday. I'm sorry, third. I'm being screwed up by your name. Sorry, and the third Sunday of every month. I've been telling people all week, just for the fun of it, that we have Thursday and Sunday, and I've been confusing most people. But I've always loved Sarah's work, and I really the Cadence Collective. I just absolutely adore that magazine. I'm sorry that it's gone, and but I'm not pressuring you to bring it back because I know how much work that is. It was an absolutely brilliant magazine. It's the first magazine that I really saw that took reprints seriously, and which was such a brilliant move because she would be reprinting everybody's best work, and everyone got a chance to see all of our favorite poems again. So that was great. But beyond that, she's an extraordinary poet and of great sensitivity. But why introduce anymore? Why don't I just let her take it away? So, Sarah.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. I am going to start off with one of the poems that from Arroyo Seco. So from the book that Thomas published, which was really nice. So and as he was saying, I collaborated with my very good friend Alessandra, and she did all the artwork in the book, which is one of my favorite things about it. So I'm really proud of that. Um, so I will start with a poem from that. And we'll go from there. The first poem I'm going to read is Gill Growing. I will give you my lifesaver, you who are sinking in the ocean alone. I didn't see you diving over the edge, but you say you want to sink under. Feel the weight of ocean crush your chest. I know it gets exhausting. I know because when I dove down as deep, I grew gills. It was dark for so many years, I stopped believing in sunlight. Breath is memory. You will remember how music makes you dance, but water keeps it from you. You can't move through currents like hallways. You, gill-growing boy. I keep throwing down ropes, but you are not done sinking. You still need the weight, and I will wait for you. Watch you from the surface while you walk ocean. I don't know when your arms will grow strong enough to pull yourself up, so I will give you my pen. Write me letters. Send them up on rays of sunlight. I will keep them at my heart until you are ready to surface. All right. I'm gonna do a little uh what is it called? Just a little bit of poems from kind of a few different little books. This one is from Unanchored. I collaborated with the cover with Esmeralda. Covered a few of my books. And I'll read a couple poems from that one. This one I actually wrote in 1999, 98, I don't know. Anyways, this is a very old poem that I brought back from a very long time ago and included it in this chapbook, which I usually don't go back that far, but I had a reason for resurfacing. So the last and final poem for to NL. I loved you. I admit it, 2 years since we last spoke. Your potato chip voice and bony hands, the way you grouped your fingers at your mouth, and your big off-center teeth. I love the way you got into your car like a grown-up with limbs too long. The way you walked into the grocery store, as awkward as Muppet's legs. You and your rail-thin body and old man's clothes. I loved your shoes, the blue one stars and green Vans. I love the way you couldn't look me in the eye. the way you never took your hat off in 3 years and wore glasses on your tiny head. We were children in grown-up bodies, so we went to parks at midnight and climbed fences in schoolyards. I loved that you still skated at 22, that you liked stickers and sugary Kool-Aid. I loved that you cut my hair and painted pictures I only saw once, that you watched G-Force and lent me taped episodes. Even more, I loved your music, the ones you loved. You gave me Dinosaur Jr. and The Wedding Present. You read James Joyce. You introduced me to Holden Caulfield, your secret alias. Your random letters and indirect thoughts. I overlooked your snobbery, your cruel remarks. I hoped to be as good as I saw you, exclusive and without remorse. I love the way you resisted me. I love that you spoke to me for hours on the telephone. I loved you then for leaving me without apology, for digging this pit in my heart, for watching with me the train pass deafening loud and fingers clenched on the chain fence. You said it made you feel empty. I loved you for those words, for hating my poetry and ridiculing my insecurities. I loved you. I know you did not understand. You thought me unimaginative. I thought you good and hateful and real. I loved you for the tiny things like smelly car fresheners and emails about diluting ice. But you gave the most unkind cut, words of detest and spite. You, who loved cartoons and butter tortillas, you did not love me. You repulsed at my weakness. Without remorse or hesitation, you broke clean of me. And I was left with your letters and musical taste, left with the emptiness of passing trains, bootleg copies of foreign films, a heart gouged and affected, left with these descriptive words and useless opinions. This is to be your last poem. The last time I love you this way. The last of you haunting me, the last conclusion in these memories. But you knew what my honesty was, a moment's passing thought. You thought my sentiment cheap. I know now you were so wrong. It's a longer one. I don't usually do so long, but the ironic thing about that particular poem, like kind of, insisting that was his last poem, is that I wrote an entire book about him after that. So I wrote many, many, many more poems about him because he left and came back, and that's a whole other story. Well, it's a whole story that's in that book. I'm getting text messages about someone having technical difficulties, so I'm not sure. All right. This one, I'm going to read a couple poems from The Unknown Algorithm. Wait, I skipped one I was going to do. No, that was the one I was doing for that one. Nope. Yes, I'm going to go to this one. Okay. That the wrong one for that. White sandals. A 10-year-old girl stood in the alleyway in white buckled sandals that made her feel too tall. Like someone 12, not 10, like someone more carefree. Sandals for a girl who could just be a girl and not one begging her mother not to walk away, pleading her only parent to stop going farther down into the alleyway dark. Heels slightly wobble and tilts on bare red ankles, on 10-year-old legs, always ready to run. I am going to one from that and get into poems from this one. So this is the one I sort of mentioned. This is All the Tiny Anchors. This is my first full-length book. And this one, it was in reaction to the relationship that I just read about. Right. This poem is called Breathe. It was a dream, all the space you surrounded, the minutes of breathing, the hours of inhaling you. Always your eyes were closed. It didn't make sense until I surrendered to it. I let my body sink naked into your atmosphere. I kept breathing you in until you were seeping through my pores. The dream was warm. I was always shedding. Your sweat lined me entirely. I absorbed you entirely. And there was stillness. You and I reflected a single line. It was a work of art. I dove in love with it, inhaling, inhaling. I loved you in silence. I asked you to see it, but still, you had your eyes closed. Wake up quick. But it was I who was dreaming. Even reading online, I need water in between poems. I don't know if I've ever read this one. I realized I was looking at this and I'm like, man, I don't know if I've ever read this one at a reading. So hate me. It wouldn't be the first time. You know what I didn't say. You know those bits and pieces I still protect. You know I wouldn't go that far. You know I only ever hinted and spoke around the worst of it. You know goddamn well I never named names or spelled them out. I never led them to the path that leads to the real you. So you can keep it tucked up tight away like you always wanted to. You know I never gave away anything of value. I left you in that trap of a life, all protected, like I thought you protected me. Phantom photographs. Imagine our love lasting, frames filling with photographs, both of us with drunken grins against replaceable backdrops, stark red canyons under quiet blue skies, foaming waves, a thick forest, some coworkers' barbecue. I would look at you with savior eyes, believing my love is army, defeating your solitude walls. My soldiers would grow fat on the endless milk of you, living euphoric in your studio apartment. I would not hear their coughing fits, lungs choking while the armies fight to fit in this space of you. Warriors would lay down weapons, finding work as city employees, while the enemies perched on edges of hilltops, looking down at us, waiting. Yeah, okay. And sure, I'm keeping track of what I've already read. All right. I'm going to read a couple pieces from my most recent, as in 19 or what 19, not the I'm that far. 2018. I released Conversations with Gravel at the end of 2018, at least. And yeah, that was my last thing that I've released because life has its way of doing that kind of stuff, right? All right. Liquid forget. I keep taking the wrong pills. The blue ones make the clouds grow thick, heavy with doubt. The white ones make the clouds angry, electric. These tiny black pills bring icy air from open windows. I can never find the right sweater. The red ones, they make the tides under my chest heave and fall. They make the surface of my lips taste like longing. The pale yellow pills, if taken with the blue, if taken with the blue, burn his image on all four corners of my eyes. All refuse to look my way. All ache with beauty. All stare silent. The liquid green are meant to help me forget the hurricanes in my mind, but I forget what I forget, and I forget what we promised. I forget if I ever believed you, and I forget how your fingers felt laced between mine. Forget if we ever made love or just fucked or had sex or slept bare naked with your head on my shoulder. Could I hear you breathing? I take my pills. I still remember too much. I'm getting a delivery. All right. This one is actually in the it's in this one. I know I cheated and put them in the same ones, but sorry, water again. Oceans once receded. I was a desert woman who learned to live on cactus boys, learned to run at night and sleep all day, knowing the burn of sky and sand. Then you came with your oceans, rivers, lakes, and waterfalls. I dove in, eyes closed, hoping you'd teach me to swim, hoping to learn your whale songs. I threw away my land shoes, swam under the stars, let my skin pucker in your waves. My desert plants were drowning. I let them bloat and drift away. Then your tsunami receded, first sudden, then steady and slow. I stood naked in your mud bed for weeks with dripping hair, dripping hands refused to dry. I learned to pray to wet earth, give thanks for saltwater baths. I learned to hear your voice in the nightbird's songs until even the mud left, took its soft clay from between my toes. The caked earth in my hair began to dry and crumble. Desert wind wiped all traces of salt from my cheeks. I pulled myself back into desert shade. Live now in the evening light. I can never return to cactus fruit when I've fed on fields of phytoplankton. I've lost the taste for prickly boys, so I may wither for a while. Until at the edge of some moment in the pale space between sun and moon, I might hear the sound of water rushing. All right. To myself in my grief state. You don't believe you know how to grieve. Death loss feels different from heartbreak. Sits wrong with you. You keep moving your mouth from hour to hour, minute to minute. You fear if your mouth isn't full of sound, the ache will surge up and slump off your tongue. You surround yourself with people who want desperately for them to see through you, both in the way that you can be unseen and in the way they can see below your skin. You don't want to ask them. You don't want them to ask because you hate the effort of simple answers. Equally, you hate the weight of darkening a party of light-faced people with your honest answers. You are a paradox of love and emptiness. You want to sleep like submerging oceans. There will never be enough sleep. You forget and want to be forgotten, want to remember before when you were light. All right. Got a few more. Yeah. Love letter number 1 to my pit bull self. I love the teeth of your love, how you pit bull deep into the flesh of loving, how you make shrines in the empty spaces, abandoned apartments, shrines to former residents of borrowed books and toiletries, envelopes full of photographs and letters in pen. How you never fill the same space with new, but keep building out, expand the frames and floors. How you know when to change the locks and when to nail it shut. I love how you calculate, estimate the risk, how you trust the unnamed algorithm, the intuitive push flashing, yes, let this one in. How soft your wrought iron grip holds every name tight, each face its own story, each moment a glass in your pain. How you refuse to argue about the wrong or right way to love. I love how love greedy you get. How you collect time and stuff it in bags and boxes, shove it on shelves in closets, covering walls, blocking doorways in empty apartments. You guard dog this house, an unapologetic hoarder. You refuse to purge it, refuse to loosen your grip, set shrines in windowsills, light blood candles. There is always room for more. So I have two more for you. This is, yeah, this kind of relates back to almost like an afterwards to the poem about or the book about the whole one about the whole book about one guy. This is Unknown Employee. I saw a girl at Target. She was me at 21 years old. She had my blonde hair and simple black-lined eyes, a red vest and black band shirt from Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures. Iconic jagged white mountain lines I once plastered to my purse. The image is a badge. I know immediately she is cool in the way I was cool working at Target at 21. I want to tell her we got bigger plans, even if you can't see it now. And that boy who tormented your soul is just passing by. I want to tell her we end up all right, and all that confusion might not get clear, but it settles. And all that sadness, the endless sadness fades away. But I give her a slight grin and I muster, I like your shirt. I don't know how else to say it. So I pay and leave for home.
Hmm.
That. I have one more I'm going to read from the 17 Poems Not About a Lover that Thomas published for me. Let me read the um, love letter number 4 to the nail biter. You will remember again lying on a dry, sunny beach, warm skin against rested bones. This swim is not endless. These swells you fight, this constant coughing up water will eventually subside. Even the bleeding edges of your cuticles deserve your tenderness. Because his hands will never work that soothing magic again, you must hold them away from the sharpness of your teeth, purse your lips and tell them they are as worthy of protection as your breasts, as your pit bull heart, as all of you is worthy. So is the clear line of your fingernails curving. Cut them clean. Even you, Olympic storm swimmer, can drag yourself up on some long shore, wash the salt from your skin, hold your hands up to the sun and say it. Say, even your cuticles are worthy of being loved. Thank you very much. At least I could see reactions, as opposed to other readings with absolutely silent reactions, even hands moving. Thank you.
Yeah, it is hard to do this without the sound of the audience, isn't it? Yeah.
But at least I can see this, right? So I know I'm getting reaction. I
Yeah.
talked before about going to readings where like nobody reacts whatsoever. And it just feels so uneasy. It feels so uneasy to me. But this was nice. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, beautiful poetry. And we're going to go into the open mic now. And first up is oh, by the way, if I didn't get a chance to ask you if you want to be in the open mic and you do, just put it in the chat. We've got room for people. So first is Leanne.
This is an old poem, but I'm kind of rediscovering some of my old poems because I'm not writing any new ones. Thanks. A radium girl demonstrates how to make her teeth shine. Amelia Magia purses her lips around the end of a paintbrush to make a point. She paints the hands of watch faces as time crumbles. She feels its passing in her bones. Chernobyl is an animal refuge for the stars. After death, fur and feathers split open to reveal constellations. Do her bones still glow beneath the dirt, or did they burn into ash? She paints on a Cheshire grin for the camera, and the rest of her disappears into the flash.
Hmm.
And this one is an old one that Sarah, bless her, published. Thank you, Sarah. Echolocation, a compass for drowning, begins with an epigraph by Brendan Constantine. Start a bath for the moon, a coffin for the sun. If wishes were horses, we would all swim beneath their hooves, dragged by desires stronger than the moon's pull on tides. Instead, we dead men float through good nights wound with regret. We drumbeat waves back with the driftwood from our shipwrecked selves. We are rotten with want. We gather ivory and then bemoan the radio silence in our seas. Each salt-kissed year drinks us down. We are time's liquor and happenstance, half-blooded concubine. We fish for proof of for God as if a jellyfish were both a lantern lighting our path and an umbrella against the rain. We pick up shells on the beach to hear the roar and tune out the shallow cochlea we carry in our heads. We cannot be silent enough to hear our own waves or wait for the searchlights flashing behind our closed lids to guide us. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, thank you, Leanne. I'm going to say something, and this is not a comment on you, Leanne. I forgot to say 5 minutes or two poems. But Leanne, that is not in any way a comment on you. Okay, up next is Andrew.
Okay, well, I get to do two poems and a piece of flash fiction, right, John? No, the this one it doesn't have a title, but I'm going to read a little bit of microfiction. It's 100 words exactly. I wrote it for a class I taught last week, a couple weeks ago, so it's an interesting one. Fog swirled around Dorian's feet as he walked the length of the pier, posts and boardwalk disappearing behind him as those ahead revealed themselves. Yellow up ahead. Must be Robert. The older man sat on a bench, his yellow cap muted in the mists, his fishing pole dangling in the water. Blue smoke curled from the joint in his hands, the floral bright and the otherwise damp air. He's gone, Robert said, his face red and crumpled. Dorian rested a hand on Robert's leg, staring out in the fog. Tell me stories then. Let him live just a little bit longer.
Hmm.
And I'll read a poem. Um, this one is for art by Anne. It's called The Eelgrass. I've read it before. I'll read it again because it's such a beautiful picture. So this one's called Eelgrass. Dances under meniscus, slow, methodical, and I want to undulate to their rhythm, fall under the siren song, float careless of everything, save the moon's pull. Thank you.
That brought up good memories for me because that used to be in our house, but she sold it. So This is the hard part about having visual arts, right? That you don't get to keep them the way you get to keep the poems. Anyway, Karen, did we decide that, or did you decide that you're going to read, or yes or no?
No, I'll just form an audience.
Okay, okay. And that disappoints Jennifer. So let's bring Jennifer up next.
All right, I have two that you guys have never heard before. So here we go. I don't know if they're any good. All right, let's start with the banana slug. So I don't know if you guys know this, but banana slug sex is intense. It's super beautiful, also slimy. It can last days. And the only way it ends is when one or the other one or both of them knot off their penis to separate. So banana slug sex, that's what this is called. Banana slug love. His flesh and mine climbing inside, devouring tissue and blood, forming something undefined. Life, swallowing soul, swallowing heart, creating something new and greater and seeming permanent. Inside mine, his touch vines around my veins, tendons, limbs, seeping into bone, mixing with marrow. But like the magnificent banana slugs, the only way loose is to sever vital appendages, tear through arteries and flesh to return to ourselves. Individuals again, individuals now, forever tainted by the slug slime of having once experienced being something, somewhere outside ourselves, and finding that even that was not enough. It's never enough. And then this one's called repackaging the process. Guts and blood on the page, I can do. But I am haunted by professors from my past lives and peers reminding me to add humor, make it easier to digest. So my blood turns to watercolor and my guts are trimmed and the truth purified to fit a made-for-TV format. All of it becomes biological waste. The open vein metaphor becomes a wasted suicide. Thank you.
Yeah, the banana slug sex sounded really good up right into the last thing you said about it.
Sorry. It's beautiful. There's videos on YouTube.
Okay, Thomas.
Okay. All right. This is from a prompt that John sends out emails every week, and I'm always motivated to try to write something based on the prompt. I don't participate any other way, but and this one's somewhat appropriate because it harkens back to why I named the press Arroyo Seco, because of when my mother grew up with the river in her backyard. But this is about Grandpa. Grandpa's backyard, old trash incinerator, the Arroyo Seco behind the back fence. Grandpa tending his cactus, telling me lies like all good grandpas. He told me he had a scar on his side, and I learned years later that the scar was because he had pneumonia, and they actually operated on the kitchen table and took out a rib and drained the drained the lung from pneumonia. And he was out of work for many years, or for a long time. But he told me it was because he got shot in the belly button and it came out that side. I was preschooler.
So Tom, the other way to participate is with my newsletters to send your work out, and I think we all want you to send that work out. I'd love to see it in a magazine. It's fantastic. All right, Eric, you're up.
This is from a prompt from class. I'm unmuted, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I apologize to Karen and to Cindy and to John because they've heard this. When the rain stops, the horses' heads pop out of the barn. Then they walk into their muddy paddocks and roll in the water, mud, and droppings, grunting as they roll. Sometimes I think it would be fun to roll around naked in the mud like them, to expose my whole self to the elements. But then they'd want to put me in a home. What will I tell the EMTs and the caregiver who arrived to save me? Leave me alone. I want to get covered in mud and feel dirt and shit between my toes. I lie down and let the back of my head drop into a puddle of mud, dirt, and manure. A moment later, my horse Ruby comes out of her stall and lies down next to me. She gently puts her head on my chest. Welcome, my human, she nickers. I've fallen and I don't want to get up.
I like the addition of that second to last line. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was, I just thought, let her
Yeah.
talk, let her call her my human.
Yeah. Get her voice. Yeah, fantastic. All right. Did you have another?
No, that's it. In fact, I'm going to just blank out for a minute. I got to go take care of Ruby.
Oh, all right. Well, up next, and I think last is Cindy. Let me know in the chat if I missed anybody.
So I'm doing the same prompt as Eric, but it kept going. So this is called Otherness, September 7th. When the rain stops, branches trip the car, water slides down basalt rocks. I leave the car and fly like a blue heron above the hordes of rust-dyed leaves. Splash near the cattails in the marsh. The Hudson River nymph gathers water plants. I grasp a log. We share a meal in crisp air. Nymph magic. I can breathe underwater with the roots of plants and trees. I stay until I understand their vision. At dusk, I drive towards the blood sun beside lush greens. When the rain begins again, I find myself on the steps of the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception in Waterbury, Connecticut. I reach out to your carved, compassionate hands as mosaic angels attend in golden splendor under the vaulted honeycomb ceiling. I hold a child in stained glass chandelier glow. I light a candle. Remember the cracked ceramic statue in my childhood bedroom, a favorite. Found solace in a woman who followed a purpose she didn't understand. When the rain continues, I walk a labyrinth under my striped umbrella to organ songs, stepping over shiny yellow oak leaves. I thank the hands that placed these stones. Calming down the chatter, I hear inspiration to create a fiber artwork using an Indian curtis with copper sequin flowers. To collage an image on the bodice of the blue heron who visited me by the shore. Nymph magic. I pause in the center. Rain drips, the river nymph and the heron remind me of my inner knowing. I begin the journey of unraveling. Thank you.
Oh, that's gorgeous, Cindy. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone who read in the open mics. And thank you so much, Sarah. We love your poetry. Always have, always will. And I hope you come back again. All right. So we're doing this every second Sunday or third Sunday. I keep making that mistake. Every second Sunday, so third Sunday. So please join us. And we'll see you next time.
Can we unmute and say, yay, Sarah?
Yes.
Yay, Sarah.
Yay, Sarah.
Yay, Sarah!
Thank you, John.
Everyone. So good.